be honest, I have not met anybody in the whole program that don't seem just real down to earth and good folks.
Yeah. So we got to the hotel this morning at 5:30 and met in the lobby, and then we leisurely got in the pickup and headed outside of town. Then we drove out past the barn on Bucknam to see if the antelope were there, and there were no antelope, and that was still twilight hours. So we drove out to the sign on Bucknam and then did a little glassing out there. Didn't see a hell of a lot. And then we came back in, drove by the barn, and they were in that far alfalfa field on the left side of the haystack. And then at that point, we made the decision that there was no way to put a stock on them. So we went back to the ranch house and we jumped in Mike's pickup. And then we ran his pickup back, just drove right up to the haystacks. And then we crawled on top of those new alfalfa bales, crawled all the way to the end. He was laying down prone, had him at like 338, but that big buck was laying down. And there was only the one big buck. The other one that's not symmetrical, he wasn't there at all today. So then the antelope ran towards the road and around that little knoll and bedded back down. So at that point, we crawled off the haystack, walked up to the road, hands and knees crawled to the antelope as close as we could get, and then about 200 yards worth of low crawling. We'd crawl and stop because they had one sentry antelope. There was only 7 instead of 9. They had that one sentry standing there. So then we crawled and we crawled and we crawled and finally reached the peak where we could see over and he could use his rangefinder to calibrate his scope.
So as we were sitting there and we're in this tall grass, dead grass, and 168 yards, and I got my bipods completely maxed out, and I can barely freaking see over the top of it. Waiting for this goat to stand up. So finally, it stands up as far as this way. So I stand up.
I said, well, as soon as he gets up, you're dead rest, put a hole in him.
And I tell Judson, I said, you good? He goes, I'm good. Cover your ears. He covers his ears. Boom. I pull the trigger. Boom.
He made a pretty good shot.
I didn't know if I hit it, got back on the gun, rocked it on the ground, and eventually we think, okay, cool, it hasn't moved in, 5 minutes, so let's go check it out. So we pick up the gun. Crazy thing that morning, Judson, right before we got the truck, his pistol, sidearm, the holster broke on him, whatever else. And he was like, I hope that's not a bad omen. And lucky it didn't happen while we were doing our crawl or whatever else, because who knows if we would have found it. So we get up, we're walking towards the animal, I rack another round, we're doing our thing. As we approach it, it jumps up and looks at us and runs 100 yards.
Because the liver shot would explain why when we walked up to him, he stood up, hadn't moved for 5 minutes, and then we walked up to him and he stood up and took off.
Well, I ranged it again, so it was actually it was 100.4 yards from me. It might have been 50 yards from you, but it was 100.4 yards from me. Justin says, you good? I said, I'm good. He goes, hold on a second. He literally rolls over like on all fours so I could put the gun on his back.
Well, since he couldn't get a rest laying down, and he couldn't get a rest sitting down, I just got into the fetal position and plugged my ears, and he dumped him at 110 yards off my back.
So I mounted him like I mounted my wife in the middle of the night. So I got right up on him, whatever else, and it just felt amazing, whatever else. It just like the sun. Okay, no. So I got right behind him, whatever else. I took another shot, double lungs. It ran around and eventually ended up dying. And we walked.
There was no ground shrink. He was just as big on the ground as he was on the hoof. It was beautiful. It was a great hunt.
It's the biggest one today?
So far from all the pictures I've seen and what's in my cooler.
Up on it and did our thing. These guys showed up with a truck, which made the process so much easier to actually move the animal.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Just an amazing.
And other than that, why, not a lot of rules, just get after it. If you tell the guy that we've been driving within 40 yards of him for the last 3 months.
It'll ruin his.
It won't.
It will.
We told him that. He knows that.
If you're gonna shoot a coyote, don't just loft it at him. You make sure that you're gonna kill him.
Best guy ever.
I will sign this in my book. I will remember this forever. I hope we stay in touch.
Hearing a story like that, I gotta get
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the opportunity. Mike, you're an amazing man. Thank you for the opportunity. I know from a veteran, what you've given me and blessed me with this opportunity is by far exceeded my expectation. Thank you so much for your hospitality.
don't gut anything on the hay. Don't gut anything on the hay field. My wife would kill me.